All right. Lambo's What a Sports featuring the Big Brother, featuring Sideline Sports Network. Like I said, top 5 teams in the NFL after after week 7. Now, there's going to be plenty of changes that I make to this list. And it's going to surprise a lot of you people. By the way, don't forget to buy your merch at TotemPoleNation.com, where merch is affordable every way, hats, hoodies, everything that you need to be prepared for. Now, my W list. At number 5, we're going to get it going at number 5. Oh, the Jacksonville Jaguars, baby. Yes, the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence. Ladies and gentlemen, I understand the Jaguars have so much struggled. I get that. They're off to a slow start. They got Calvin Ridley back from suspension. By the way, Trevor Lawrence, ladies and gentlemen, he already has 1,643 passing yards, 8 touchdowns. I know his QBR is not really where it's at, but they're 14th in passing yards. They're 13th in rushing yards. They're 9th in points per game, and they only give up 20.9 points a game. The defense has improved. It has slightly got better. Do not be surprised going forward that the Jacksonville Jaguars will probably sneak in and probably be a better playoff team than the Buffalo Bills. I try to tell you something. Trevor Lawrence is that guy. Doug Peterson has turned around that program. I understand they have 2 tough games the next 2 weeks. So they got the Steelers, and then, of course, they got the 49ers after their bye week. But I think they'll beat the Steelers. But after their bye week, they'll be 6-2. And like I said, it has been a while since they started 5-2. Now, number 4 on my W list. Number 4. I know it's going to disappoint some of you. Number 4, I going to have to get the Seattle Seahawks. Yes, Seattle Seahawks. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Geno Smith time, baby. Look, I understand there's a lot of things going on in a circumstance that the Seattle Seahawks with Pete Carroll, there were some questions, there were some concerns about the defense. I get it. I mishandled it a lot. But at the same time, they're effective. They're the second best team in the NFC West. I get it. The 49ers is up there on top. But at the same time, there's not much you can really do about it, all right? Understand that DK Metcalf missed his first game as of last season, but at some point in time, he will eventually come back, and I have a feeling they don't have the same record, but there's one game above because Seattle did have a bye week, obviously. But with the 49ers losing, Seattle could be on top by Sunday. You know, they could be on top of the division just for now. But Seattle's a team that you must watch out for.
They'd be tied. They wouldn't be number 1.
No, I get that. I'm saying if the 49ers lose again this week, I'm not sure if they have a bye week, but if they lose this week again, three in a row, and Seattle wins, they'll be on top. Now, number 3 in the W list. Number three. Now this is tough because I just had to make adjustments, and somebody is gonna have to get knocked out. And I'm just thinking, I'm going through. Nope, there's no need to go through. Number 3 on my list. Number 3. Give it to me, baby. Give it to me. Give it to me. Jalen Hurts and those Eagles. Yes, Jalen Hurts and those Eagles. Did you see? They got a lot of injuries on the defensive end. A lot of injuries. But they stopped the high-powered Miami Dolphins. They had the #1 run defense in the NFL. They held Tua to 216 yards passing, which is the lowest in his career. Jalen Hurts, I understand he's been a little bit shaky and all that stuff. I get it. He's been a little shaky. But Jalen Hurts is the guy. He is the franchise for the Eagles. A.J. Brown's been going off. They still have Devontae Smith. Nick Sirianni has really turned around the Eagles program. I understand that Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl, but I think Nick Sirianni has a lot of promise. Despite them losing 2 coordinators, I get it. They're 6-1. I get it. They hadn't played the Cowboys yet. They play the Commanders this Sunday. But I'm telling you, This team is a team to watch out for a possible first round bye if they continue success. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to shock everybody with this. Number 2 in my W list. Number two. All right. I'm going to shock everybody with this. You just have to sit there, be calm, and be patient on this one. Everything patience is about key. Ready for this? You ready for this? Oh, number 2. Number 2 is the Baltimore Ravens. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I know a lot of people say the Baltimore Ravens are the best team in football, but you forgot there's one more team that I am going to mention later. Ladies and gentlemen, Lamar Jackson, he has a chance. He is playing like MVP caliber Lamar Jackson since 2019. I understand y'all bashed the man. He wasn't this and he wasn't that. Trust me, I get it. I get it a lot. But they have receivers. Now they signed Nelson Aguilar. They got Zay Flowers. With 2 running backs being hurt, they still have Mark Andrews. I don't know what to tell you. The Ravens is up there. I understand there was about 2 games they should have lost. But did you see what they just did to the Lions? I understand I picked the Lions. I know I did. I understand I picked those Lions. But I should have never done that. And I am sorry. I want to apologize to the big brother myself because I thought the Lions was going to do something and turned out they didn't do jack. They didn't do anything. They scored 6 points. 6. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Ravens also have a great, good, and legit
Didn't you have
defense.
the Lions as your number 1 team last week?
I think I did. But they got blown out, so they go, damn. They got blown out. Now, if it was close, I may put them in the top 5, but they got blown out. They just, I think they might be a little bit fraudulent. So I'm just very concerned. I don't want to be part of the fraudulent situation. Ladies and gentlemen, the number 1 team in all of the NFL. Number 1 team. My bad, I didn't mean to kick you off. I don't know what happened. Number 1 team is the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay? That's the number 1 team all of football. Ladies and gentlemen, they won 6 straight games. They only lost to the Lions. I get it. Guess what happened? Travis Kelce pulled a baddie. He pulled what was best for business. He pulled Taylor Swift. Do you understand that ever since Taylor Swift has been in attendance for Chiefs games, they have been undefeated? Do you understand that against this Chargers team with a horrific defense, that Travis Kelce is the best tight end of football? He could be up there, maybe could be better than Gronk. I don't know about being better than Shannon Sharp, but he is up there right now as one of the top tight ends in all of football. He had 138 yards receiving by halftime. When you have that type of talent, that type of blocking, that type of catching, you have Pat Mahomes as your quarterback, man, you're doing it. Andy Reid's doing it with Travis Kelce, Sky Moore. They signed McCole Hardman. They still have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They still have Isaiah Pacheco, if I can't pronounce his name incorrectly for that one. But, ladies and gentlemen, the Chiefs are on their way to possibly repeating for the Super Bowl. They sit right now at 6-1. They're doing great things. I believe in the Kansas City Chiefs. And this week, after week 7, my list is fluid and it's legit. The Kansas City Chiefs are the number 1 team in all of NFL football.
I guess it is my turn. We have a semi-similar list, I would say. Not exactly the same, but that's good. We don't want it to be exactly the same. Let's get it started. Post week 7 top 5 W list. My first team on this list in the 5 spot is the Lions. I do know that they got blown out. I get it. All right. But looking at the overall production of this team, the defense is still good. I understand they just got their shit rocked. Okay, I get it. I can already see it in the comments. How are the Lions at 5 if they just got their shit rocked? Well, the offense is still good. The defense is still good, and they had a down week. We have to remember who this team beat. The Kansas City Chiefs, a team that in the past, the Chiefs, have not been able to cover a spread to save their life. And this year, they are the number one team in covering the spread. So when you look at who the Lions beat, and then who they lost to in the Ravens, who, like you mentioned, most people are considering one of the top teams in the league, especially in the AFC. I moved them down 2 spots from where I had them last week, but I definitely, like, considering their offensive stats, Jared Goff here, as well as Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's a top receiver outside of, yards after the catch. I don't really know what's going on with him there. But, just overall, I don't think the Lions loss did enough for me to take them completely out of my top 5, but it definitely drops them to, like, on the border of getting bounced off of my list. The number 4 spot for me goes to the Ravens. Obviously, I didn't have them ranked last week, but Lamar is on an MVP pace right now. He's the team's leading rusher. He's also 18th in the league in rushing. And with a minimum of 30 carries this year, he's 10th in yards per carry. He's tied for 8th in rushing touchdowns. And then you go to the passing side, he's the second most efficient thrower. Goodness gracious, excuse me. And the passer rating is 3rd as well. He hasn't turned the ball over, and the passing touchdowns are about, middle of the pack. But when you see what he's done on the ground as well, it definitely makes up that gap. And then their defense as well. Can't sleep on the defense. We saw what they just did to a great Lions offense, and what they've been doing all year pretty much. This is a legit defense, and it's getting supported by a legit offense and an MVP candidate quarterback in Lamar. Up next, my number 3 team is the Eagles. I had them drop down to 5 last week after that loss to the Jets. They did enough to convince me to bump him back up to the 3 spot. And I want to give Jalen credit, but I don't really think it's because of him. It is entirely because of that defense and because of their running game. Jalen Hurts, as a passer, is still just middle of the pack, I think. And that nothing wrong with that. Like, he's got a top 10 QBR, top 10 in yards. That's fine. But he's obviously, you can see it here, 13th when it comes to completion percentage, QBR. The touchdowns are tied for 11th, but he's still tied for first in interceptions after throwing another one last week. But the strength of this offense is the run game, and that's powered by DeAndre Swift. 3rd in the league in rushing yards per carry, 5.1. That's fantastic. And he doesn't contribute as much to the receiving game as you would think for him being as dynamic as he is. And a lot of his running touchdowns are taken away because Jalen Hurts has 6 of them this year when it comes to that tush push. And then outside of the tush push, I'm pretty sure Jalen has run in 1 or 2 by himself as well. So, best rush defense in football. The secondary still needs work, but they just traded with the Titans the other day for Byard to help out that secondary as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if next week I had them bumped up a little bit more. But that's going to be tough because my number 2 team, and I think this is absolutely wild that you don't have them on your top 5, is the Niners. I get it. They've dropped 2 in a row. I understand. This is still the best defense in football. Okay? I get it. All right? They've lost 2 in a row. Brock has looked like an actual human being for once. We haven't seen that basically in his entire career. And yeah, he's come back down to earth, but guess what? He's still 2nd in QBR. His completion percentage is right outside of the top 10. He's top 10 in yards and top 10 in touchdowns as well. And then if we were to look at touchdown to interception ratio, I would have to assume that it would be one of the highest in the league as well. Then you look at what they get from CMC, obviously the best running back in the league. And then what he can do in the receiving end, he leads running backs in yards and receiving touchdowns. He's 2nd in rushing touchdowns, 1st in rushing yards, and then yards per carry. These past 2 weeks have hurt him because he hasn't been able to break off some of the explosive stuff, and it's dropped to about a 4.8, which is 17th with a minimum of 30 carries. But I don't want to go too deep into stats, but I also don't want to let recency bias sway my view too much. Like, this is still one of the best teams in the league. I think that if they were to play the Seahawks right now, it would be a little bit closer than maybe the spread would give them. But I also think that they would make some quick work of them by the third or fourth quarter. I think beginning of the fourth quarter is what I should say. I don't think this would go down to the wire. I think they're still a superior team to damn near everybody in the NFL, except for these guys that I have at the number 1 spot, which are the Kansas City Chiefs. Up 3 spots from last week. They've just proven it to me, man. These are the Chiefs. It started off a little sloppy, and it was hard to have faith in them. But despite the deficiencies that they have at wide receiver, Pat is still top 5 in completion percentage, yards, touchdowns. QBR, he's first. And then interceptions, he does have 6. It has been a little bit of an uptick this year in interceptions from Pat. That's tied for 7th most in the league when it comes to interceptions. But then you look at Travis Kelce, who has not been 100% all year, missed the first game, obviously, and is still top 10 in receptions, 12th in yards, 10th in yards after the catch, and tied for 8th in receiving touchdowns. And then you mentioned it, this defense is insane. This is the best Chiefs defense we've seen, at least in the Andy Reid era, and I'm not super familiar with how good the defenses were before that, but this is another level for Pat. I don't think he's had a complimentary defense like this, and that's scary. It's part of the reason that they're 6-1, but it is scary having him, playing elite level football minus the turnovers a little bit, but that's not all on him when you look at the receivers he's had to deal with. Nicole Hardman is going to be a good addition once he's fully back into the lineup. I think Pat has thrown the 3rd most amount of touchdowns in his career to Nicole Hardman. It's Travis and Tyreek as 1 and 2. So bringing back a familiar target and a guy that he's thrown a lot of touchdowns to will do nothing but help this offense out. And the defense is already playing perfectly good complementary football for an explosive offense powered by, obviously, Pacheco, who was my featured player in this list last week instead of Travis Kelce. And then Kelce and then McColl. And then you go to the defense side and they've got Bolton at linebacker, Jones on the D line. The safeties and the DBs aren't scrubs. They've got that young kid, McDuffie. They're nice, dude. And it's scary hours for the rest of the league, I think, because the Chiefs are back. If there was ever a doubt that they weren't going to be back, you can push that to the side. This is the best team in the league right now. But I've still got pretty good faith that the Niners are the 2nd best team. I understand Brock has looked a little pedestrian the past 2 weeks. He hasn't looked like what we've seen. But I feel like that's a lot of recency bias keeping them out of the top 5 when we know how dominant they are.
I didn't kick him out the top 5 because of Brock Purdy. I kicked him out because he lost to the Vikings. The Vikings. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vikings. My God. What the Vikings defense looked.
Yeah, but the Eagles lost to the Jets. The Ravens lost to the Colts.
I'd rather take losing to the Colts than lose to the Vikings. The Colts are actually competitive. They're actually competitive. The Vikings, they have all the talent, and they just don't have the answers.
Vikings have the same record as the Colts.
Don't go just by the record, but they have more talent than the Colts. They have more talent than the Colts. You know that?
Yeah. But they're dude. That Vikings offense has been one of the top offenses in the league all year. Even without JJ, they're still producing a lot on offense.
And they're not executing well. And they have a bad defense. The Vikings defense is bad. It should not look that good like it was on Monday night. The Vikings defense couldn't stop anybody. For some reason, they stopped the 49ers, but they couldn't stop anybody all year. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And then the week before, they lost to the Browns. I don't know what to tell you.
The Browns just won another game with PJ, and PJ's starting again this week.
You know that damn call was BS. You know it's a BS call. The Colts had that game won. Come on now. That game was won by the Colts. That I'm not using that as an excuse, but I mean, come on.
I agree. The Colts got fucked. I agree. But at the end of the day, what is in the win column, one is in the loss column, and the win goes to the Browns. That's just the way it is. And also, I agree that the Colts got fucked in that. But they had the entirety of the game to make that not come down to the last second. They did. They couldn't stop Myles Garrett. He was easily the MVP of that game. I mean, I know everyone has seen the highlights at this point. He blows by the tackle and the tight end in literally like a second and a half, getting like a 2-layer protection, and he just goes around all of it, forces the fumble in the end zone, gets a touchdown, seals the game. And it's just, I don't know, man. I mean, I agree. They got fucked when it comes to the PI, but they had it didn't have to come down to that. They were playing a second string quarterback. They were playing an offense that hasn't been going on all cylinders. They allowed Jerome Ford to run for like a 70-yard touchdown on the second play of the game or something.
They did, but why do you have? But in your mind process when you did this, why you have the Ravens at number 4? I mean, you got Lamar Jackson playing like an MVP caliber. You had him at number 4. I get they lost to the Colts.
I'm looking at if they were to line up and play the teams that I have ranked above them, do I think that they would win?
They might beat the Eagles. I don't know about the 49ers.
I agree.
I don't know about the 49ers.
Okay, so exactly. That's my thing with the Eagles. They have the best run defense in the league. The secondary has improved, and Lamar is the top, runner on that team. So it's not like they're a bolstered up run offense. They're hurt everywhere except for Lamar. So I feel like being able to single in a little bit on Lamar, which is obviously much easier said than done, but I like the defensive matchup versus the Ravens. And then you go Ravens versus Niners. I like that defensive matchup as well. And then with the Chiefs,
they played before and it's been close.
I agree. I think all 3 of these games would be close if it was Ravens versus Eagles, Niners, or Chiefs. I think all of them would be close. I just don't know if I give the edge to the Ravens right now, and that's why they're number 4. And then the Lions, I felt like this was kind of a fluke. Not a fluke.
That's why I didn't put them in top 5. And I think I gotta see continuation of the Lions. Like how they're gonna finish. They finished great last year. Are they gonna start off hot and fold? Or are they going to continue to bounce back? Because we've seen them at their worst at 1-7 last year. They went 9-8. Right now they're 5-2. So can they continue? The division is wide open. I just hope they don't lose the division. It's wide open.
Yeah,
the Packers lost.
Yeah, there's only 6 days till the trade deadline as well. So I feel like we're going to see some stuff heating up pretty quickly here. And I definitely think the Lions are a buy. Like last year, they were kind of a seller. They got rid of Hawkinson, and then they went on that run somehow. So this year I would think that they're more of a buyer in trying to add something to probably that defense in the secondary to beef that up a little bit, because I don't really know what else they would add in a trade. They've got 2 stud running backs. They've got a wide receiver room full of producers. They have the best rookie tight end and one of the best tight ends in the league in Laporta. They would just need to add a little bit to that defense, I think, in a trade, and this Lions team is going to be very legit.
All right. Next episode of Lambo Sports, we got to cover NFL. All NFL today. We all piled up with you with some content because, like I said, we'll be in Blacksburg tomorrow. So 24 hours away from spooky season in Blacksburg, not actual Halloween. But the Rams versus the Cowboys. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you're nauseating, delusional Cowboys fans think, oh, we won on a bye week. Well, that's great to know. I want to see y'all play good on the field on Sunday. Now, I understand the Rams have struggled and all of that. Cowboys come off a bye week. They're fresh. Hopefully, some of the defensive guys and everybody else got healthy. But we will let you know in the next 5 minutes of the preview of the Rams versus the Cowboys, or the Cowboys Super Bowl contender. I mean, we'll see. We didn't talk about it because of the bye week. We'll see how consistently they will do, and if he has to shave off his mustache or grow it, I don't know. We will let you know in the next 5 minutes, and we'll probably let you know on Monday once I say, how about those Cowboys? But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to Total Pro Nation, Lambo Sports. We'll catch you next.